Thank you, Dave, for the opportunity to speak at this celebration. It's a distinct honor to be asked to say a few words about someone who meant so much to our family. Many of you know Carolyn as Coach Savoy or Professor Savoy, but we have always known her from a unique perspective. To us, she's always been Aunt Carolyn. Many words come to mind when describing Carolyn and her zest for life, including exciting, energetic, front-end loaded, and positive. You took the Nike slogan, "Just do it," that would sum up her outlook. She was also family-oriented, and Dave knows this, a committed, intense teaser. I have great and early memories of Aunt Carolyn. When we were young and she rolled into Campbellton, you knew there would never be a dull moment. During summers on a typical day, she would take us out for walks on the beach, swimming, or touring in a convertible, while in winter, we inevitably ended up on Sugarloaf Mountain on the ski slopes building a snowman or tobogganing. She attracted like-minded people as well and often bring friends, both male and female. One event that I remember well is a microcosm of these times and her approach to life of just do it. It was a sunny afternoon in early 1970s in the winter, and Campbellton used to get a lot of snow. They'd have warnings about making sure you didn't go up the snowbanks and touch the power lines. There was that much snow. I mean, it was unbelievable. A Scottish friend of hers had joined her, and then a basketball teammate for UNB. A little funny story about that. I was attending UNB for many years, and she coached Dal there, and I used to go through a lot of sunglasses and fake mustaches, cheering Dal on. We always did cheer for Dal, though. So a friend of hers from UNB and a Scottish friend with a heavy accent had come to Campbellton. Our papa, or Carolyn's dad, Val, called him the wee lad because he was about 6'6". We ended up on the slopes at Sugarloaf, and they were tearing down the hill with us as kids playing catch-up. We were probably 8 or 9 years old at the time. I think we complained about how slow we were, and Carolyn, in her way, which you know, first of all said, "Stop your whining." Second of all said, "Let's figure out how you can go faster." Always a problem solver, she then offered up a solution. She did not drag us behind her with her poles or put us in front like you'll see parents do with their children. What she did was much more fun and exciting, and in typical Carolyn fashion. She took off her skis, threw them aside, loaded us on her shoulders, and skied down the hill. But that was Carolyn's way. She was fun, exciting, and very active. And it's typical of how she lived her life. Quit your whining, come up with a plan, execute the plan. I think I'm missing one critical step, though, that came later and that we forgot then, which was, many of you know it, we forgot to visualize. Or see it, feel it, as she used to say. That was Carolyn's style with us as kids. During the day, it was energetic, activity-based, and outdoor fun, but evening and nighttime, that was a totally different type of fun. After supper with our nanny and papa, which we called them, we would all settle down in the cozy living room for a few minutes before Carolyn would say, "Let's play a game." Her mom, my nanny Doris, would groan. My papa Val would chuckle, because he was the teaser in the family. That's when she became Aunt Carolyn, the competitive, intense Monopoly tycoon. Her success and personal growth depended entirely on Boardwalk. Her friends, parents, and innocent nieces and nephews became enemy number one, and she became Donald Trump. To say that she took her board game seriously back then was an understatement, and Papa was always there to egg her on. That made her much more determined and very focused. I think you're getting a picture where Carolyn learned to tease as well. Her father was an expert. Her mom, Nanny, would play the mediator, always playing the mediator and the color commentary. She would not play Monopoly with us, but on cue she'd make comments that always tracked the progress, and sometimes were a sense of foreboding. Whenever it would start going bad for Carolyn, maybe if she'd land on Tennessee with some houses, Papa would tease her, say, "Pay up, princess." She would glare at him, and Nanny would say, "It's only a game, dear." She landed on a property that was owned maybe by one of us kids. Nanny would say in all sincerity, "It's okay, Carolyn." Her father would say, "Carolyn, you seem to be giving a lot of money to children's charities these days." She would glare at him and turn a little red. And then finally, when she got knocked out, which wouldn't happen a lot, because as you know, she liked to win and she focused on winning. But when she finally got knocked out, he would look at her and say, he was a businessman. He would say, "I guess that's why you're a teacher, not a business owner, Carolyn." It's a wrong thing to say to Carolyn. So she would, of course, Nanny would stand up and she would say, "It's okay, dear, next time." And Carolyn would see red and she'd stand up and say, "I want another game, I want another rematch," because she had to win eventually, you know her. Most of you have witnessed Carolyn's competitive side, and some have seen her teasing in action and her mediation skills as well. And this is a glimpse of the roots of those Savoy attributes. Her mom and dad gave her those. After the board game and at the end of a long and active day, it was off to bed. Carolyn would always put us to bed, which involved your nightly ablutions and then storytelling. Once we settled down, she would actually teach us bedtime rituals according to Carolyn. She taught me the proper way of brushing my teeth, I remember vividly, when I was 6 or 7 years old. And although I was never coached by Carolyn, I think I can probably relate to some of her ways. I remember being dressed in my pajamas, you can picture it, standing on a stool in front of the mirror. She was beside me looking in the mirror and had very clear instructions. She emphatically made sure that each tooth cut brushed in a vertical direction on the inside and the outside and horizontally on the top exactly 5 times. To this day, I still brush my teeth 5 times. And she was very clear about that and emphatic, as you know. And I would often see her when she was in a huddle during timeouts at basketball games. And she'd be making her points and talking. I was thinking, I witnessed that when she was teaching me to brush my teeth. She was the same emphatic Carolyn. So the daytimes are filled with fun, energy, and excitement. Early evening was for games, but after getting ready for bed, when the sun went down and the moon came out, we got to experience Carolyn in action. Her bedtime stories were legendary. Something out of a Tim Burton movie, actually. Her favorite story, you can imagine, you've been to Campbellton, Sugar Oak Mountain looms in the distance near Campbellton, the lower part of Campbellton. And she would tell us about not a dinosaur, but meat-eating dinosaurs. Coming out of Sugarloaf Mountain, and she would add the stomp, 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 up the up street. And the funniest thing, I always struck me funny, the meat-eating dinosaur would be coming up the up street. He'd stop at the stop sign at Aaron Street and look both ways. And he took her right ahead down Aaron Street towards our house at 105 Aaron Street. Stomp, stomp, stomp. So we'd be there as kids just shivering, of course. And she'd say, she'd keep her stomping going, and then she'd stop. And she'd say, listen for the breathing, but don't go near the windows. We would squeal and jump up and run towards, because we were on our lap, we'd run towards the bed, then remember there were wolves under the bed, which she told us in the story before. Run out the door, we'd avoid the closet, we'd had snakes in the closet, she told us there were snakes in the closet before. We'd run downstairs by our papa who was in an arm tree, he'd jump up like a bear and growl at us. And then we run into Nanny's arm and she would scream, "Stop that, you're going to give the kids nightmares." I'll tell you, it was quite an experience to have Carolyn tell you bedtime stories. It was her way of fun, it was a lot of fun. To this day, I still jump a little and pull my feet up when I get in a strange bed. Because there are wolves under the bed. But with counseling, I managed to cope with those memories. My psychiatrist, he's convinced me that teasing was really meant as love. And I think you know this, that the more Carolyn loved you and the more special you were, the more she teased. And she was an expert teaser. And obviously Dave was very, very, very special to her. Those are early memories on Carolyn. Fun, energy with a sprinkle of teasing and competitiveness thrown in for good measure. I'm sure that she was the same way with Zach and Ella, her grandchildren, and Cameron, who have brought so much joy and pride into her life in the recent years. As we grew older, our relationship obviously changed, and she became someone who was a mentor and took an active interest in our lives and the lives of our children, Gabrielle and Kay. She also discovered her family roots and great pride in the Savoy family. I need to make special mention of the Seeley family in St. John and the Savoy side of her family from northern New Brunswick and France. She embraced her relative, visited them frequently, but also took it upon herself to learn not only the Savoy family genealogy, she learned a second language at 45 years old. She learned French. That's an amazing accomplishment. She also spoke to us often about her passion, sports psychology, and how to apply to everything in life. She repeatedly stressed planning, visualizing, executing. We use her buzzwords, see it, feel it all the time now. If her daughter steps up for a foul shot or her son has a penalty kick in soccer. Although I wasn't privy to her interactions with players, I think it's safe to say that she also passed those key messages on. Planning, visualizing, executing. On that note, speaking specifically to her former players, I want you to know how proud she was of you. She told me on many occasions that satisfaction in coaching did not come from her wins, but from playing a part in developing her players. In a nutshell, she felt her greatest success came from your accomplishments. During a visit recently, she spoke to us all about front-end loading. It's funny, Julian, you mentioned that. And leaving no regrets, not in a sad way, but in a positive way. And how grateful she was to have done so much. She was very thankful that she had lived her life front-end loaded, and the loved ones, including Dave and her grandchildren, Carolyn and Cameron, be a part of that experience. So whether you knew her as Coach Savoy, Professor Savoy, Grammy Savoy, or Aunt Carolyn, whether it was skiing with us on her shoulders, cheering her former players on in their life's challenges, taking a trip to France to discover her roots, or traveling with her grandchildren to Florida, she believed in front-end loading and the slogan, "Just do it." And she did it.